Hey guys, Paul McLean here. Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. Excited that you joined. I don't know where you're joining us from, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on a Monday morning, but I'm excited that you're with us, and I hope that this has been serving you and serving you well consistently week in and week out. And my desire, guys, every single week is to bring somebody on board that can really speak some insight, help increase awareness on some things that need to be spotlighted, to tweak and adjust to make this week better than the last week. And I promise you, today's going to do that for you. So if you're not driving, this is one of those podcasts where I just would implore you to take some notes, to lean in, to have the right expectation that, man, when I leave this podcast today, I'm going to leave more inspired, equipped, empowered to go out there with clarity and know where to step, how to step, and to take action in those steps. And so I just believe that to be true this morning. And so before we jump into this, I just want to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and leave comments throughout this podcast, because you do have the opportunity to win up to $250. 4 winners every single week that you'll get to see at the end of this podcast that Casey would draw. And I do know it makes a massive difference, because $250 in lead money might equate to 10xing that income-wise into your bank account. And so without further ado, I get my buddy Jeremiah on today. Jeremiah, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Well, hey, good to have you on, bro.
Excited to be here.
First of all, Jeremiah, how old are you?
I'm 19.
19.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off your last couple weeks have been some big weeks,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
We're thinking 20 families in a couple weeks.
Yep.
How long you been with Family First Life for?
So I've been full-time since March, so about 4 months now. I've been kind of, in and out since December, but I really went full-time after convention. So since March, I've been full-time.
Okay, now the whole in and out thing, by the way, we're going to talk about that, because some of you watching this, you got every ability, talent, skill, but you're just a little in and out, right? You need to be a little more in than you do necessarily need to be out.
Right.
And we're going to kind of talk about the commitment shifts and some things that you've done. But to go out there and it's been a process, man. So 4 or 5 months, it's been some ups and some downs, some highs, some lows, some peaks, some valleys. But now that consistency is kicking in,
right.
And coming off of like 20 families in a couple weeks is a big deal. I think that anybody on here could say, man, I would like to do that, or if I'm doing that, I'd like to know how he specifically did that,
right.
And I can communicate that with the group or different people that I'm in touch with. But so. Looking back, starting out, what I want to do is kind of get to know you a little bit, Jeremiah, and really let everybody else know you a little bit. I know you pretty well. You work out of the Apple Valley office here,
yep.
So I get to see you consistently, almost daily. But I'd love for them to kind of hear your story, and then I want to get into some things that have really you've tweaked, adjusted, some shifts in thought process, some things that have shifted in what you've actually done as far as routines and systems,
right.
that have led you to that, because there's a lot of things that have specifically changed to get you from kind of being in and out to being consistently helping this many families. And so, but let's talk about your background, man. A little bit about yourself, upbringing, and what led you to Family First Life.
So my name is Jeremiah. I'm 19. So a little bit about me. I came from not a very good upbringing, I guess you could say. I wasn't in a family-oriented household, I guess you could say. We didn't really have a lot of camaraderie when it comes to, being a family. I grew up, bouncing from trailer park to trailer park, not really having that leadership from my parents of, what it's like to own a business or even really be employed. My parents were bouncing from paycheck to paycheck. So I really had a rough upbringing, and I feel like a lot of people, when I talk to them, they kind of get a little inspired when I tell them like what I've come from and where I'm at now, because I think I've learned a lot. So, I came from, being trailer park to trailer park and just really trying to figure out where I'm going to be without having that parental guidance of where I should go. So
when you say like family kind of like routines and like, was it just like, what did that look like when you say trailer park to trailer park? Was your mom and dad both working? Were they not working? What did that situation look like?
So my dad was kind of like a handyman, I guess you could say. He was just, the trailer park mechanic. So he was helping everybody. Anytime there was a side job, he was doing that. And my mom, on the other hand, to be honest with you, she never really had a job my entire life. So I've always looked to my dad when it comes to, what it looks like to work, but he's never had, a corporate job or even a regular, McDonald's job, anything like that. And my mom never had a job. So when it comes to family routines, I guess, we were kind of just trying to see how we can make ends meet.
So it was mainly just like a continuous season of surviving. where your parents were just trying to figure out how to way to pay the bills, and then you end up you don't live with your parents now. You ended up moving out and living with your aunt now.
Yeah, so basically what happens is I was living with my parents for about 10 years, and we ended up splitting up because my dad had to go to Connecticut to work. So after we split up, me and my mom moved up the hill to Apple Valley to move with my grandma, and then a little bit of things happened there where me and my mom, we kind of split up because we had to move out, and unfortunately my mom tried to overdose. So at a young age, I was only about 13. I was disconnected from my mom and my dad, and I had to live with my friend. So for about a year, I was trying to figure out who I'm gonna be, and trying to just get any kind of guidance from any kind of parental person in my life, since I didn't really have that from my parents. So then from what happened from there is that after I moved with my friend, I moved with my sister, and now I'm with my aunt now, my aunt and my uncle. They really taught me a lot. They got me closer to God, and they taught me structure and really to kind of how to hold myself accountable, because I was doing really, really bad in school. And I mean, I hate school, to be honest with you. I don't like school, but I was doing, D's and F's, and then within 3 weeks, I was able to get everything up to B's and A's just from their guidance. And I think that's really been an important thing to me, because they've really taught me who I am in my faith and who I am as a person to become, the person I am today. I feel like they've really had a strong, guidance of my maturity and just who I am and who I am in myself and in my faith.
I love that, man. What a powerful, inspirational story, man. And I think that's one thing I love about Family First Life is there's so many different stories, and everybody's got a different story, but a lot of times the story isn't like, man, I grew up and my parents were multimillionaires and they had all these different businesses and they got me into real estate when I was 12 and a half years old. When I was 13, man, I understood like P&Ls, and I was already looking at how to invest in my first complex and then cash flow, and I was playing cash flow quadrants at the age of 14. I'm like, that's not this typical story, man. The typical story is, somebody that didn't have a great background or upbringing where they were learning these success principles. Like my dad was a plumber, and my mom, was a volunteer her whole life. She didn't work, and so I didn't have that necessarily in front of me. And it was a lot of surviving too. It was different scales of that, but most of it wasn't like, how do I go invest and develop financial freedom? It was like, dude, let's just pay the bills, and that's about it.
Yeah, I definitely never thought of ever owning a business. I know that I've always wanted to work for myself, but I did not know how I was gonna be able to get here. And the way I got here was when I was in high school. I was playing basketball, and I met James's brother Hernan. I met him at a basketball game. We had class together, and little James, he likes my shoes. James 4, he's like, "Oh, I like your shoes, dude, because they're purple. It's his favorite color."
Yeah.
And so then I got him on Instagram and Snapchat, and he posted on his story. He was like, "Oh, I just made a lot of money from sitting on my couch. I promise I don't work harder than you." I was like, "Wow, that sounds like something I would like to do."
Sure.
So after that, it got my attention. I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he told me, and he was like, "Dude, this is a process. I mean, there's gonna be a meeting here at Spring Valley Lake. You should come. Here's the course. We'll get you started." And so that's just basically how it took off. I went to that meeting. I saw you. I saw Sean Mike, and I just saw all these leaders. And then I'm like, wow, this is crazy that we have this amount of leadership and this opportunity up here, and I'm being exposed to it at such a young age. And I think that I really, I kind of took in everything I could. I took as many podcasts, and I listened to everything. So much stuff of yours, and I really just try to take everything in so I can, really absorb this opportunity for what it is. So, investing in just owning a business was definitely not something that was going to be in my regimen, I guess you could say. It was definitely not something I was thinking of. I was just, taught the sim life, go to school, get a regular job, and, die. Basically, don't live. You don't get to live. You just work till you die. And that was not what was attractive to me at all.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's powerful, man. And what it does is, to me, it almost it makes me realize the value of somebody just sharing the opportunity. Like little James didn't know, and little James is like 21, so he's a couple years older than you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's out there helping 20 families a month now. And he's got a good team coming on board. Like, I think they're going to be, sales managers right on the corner, and a bunch of guys that are like 19, 20 like you, which is just a cool group.
Yeah.
Cool group, cool shoes. You guys all got good shoes. But, think about that. He didn't know that would give you a shot to really kind of break a generational, cycle of just surviving. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
because fair to say, like, your there's nobody in your family that's really created significant success that's been showing you the way forward, right?
No, the only person I can think is my brother. He's an accountant, so he lived the sim life. He went to school, did very good in school, got a nice job, and he's 38. He has a nice condo, nice car, but he's still tied to somebody being his boss. And
right.
and he would always tell me, he's like you should go to school because I'm doing this, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I mean, you're still going to be working till you're 65, and that's just really not attractive to me at all. So my brother's probably the most example I have in my life. When it comes to owning a business, there's nobody I can think of that's in my life that's in that.
I mean, so think about that, like, growing up, just surviving and learning that. Like, the reality is this, like, we have learned behaviors based off environments that we're in. You know what I mean? Like, to think that when I got started in the business that I had this abundance thought process of, like, man, I'm going to take risk, I'm going to put back in, no big deal. Oh, you said invest $1,000? Oh, easy, dude. Like, come on, man. I just came off this other business venture where I had to take $100,000 to start this thing up, and like, that wasn't the case. It was like, dude, that's me working like 80 hours pumping septic tanks in 110-degree weather, smelling poop. Like, dude, like, that's a lot of money. That's how I equated it, because that's how I looked at it. It wasn't
right.
What's going to come back from it, what's going to come around, what's the future payoff. It was like, no, dude, I'm looking at today, like, because I've been bred in surviving, and it's the same thing, like, there's a lot of people out there that, they're mom, their parents, or grandparents, or great-grandparents, or great-great-great-grandparents. Like, dude, all of them have never broken that cycle of surviving. And just one simple opportunity where you have a shot to do that. Now, it's up to you to take the shot, right?
100%.
But you just saying, hey, take a look at Family First Life. You have the opportunity to really break a generational cycle of poverty, of
100%.
Survival, of barely getting by, and I think that's such a big deal, man. So anybody that's watching this, if you've not yet shared the opportunity, I wonder who you could have an impact on if you did. And
you never know.
I spoke to James and Big James, man, when they first brought you on board and you were kind of getting things going.
Right.
And we did a podcast, man. I still remember, like, their facial expressions talking about you going out there and helping your first client, man. And like, it messed me up thinking about it, because, like, they were so proud that and they didn't do it for you. You did the work, but they were just excited and proud that they gave you an opportunity to do that. And now you've taken it, and we're going to talk about some of the things that have taken place from the first sale to helping 20 families, because there's been a lot in the middle in that 5-6 months. But I just think it's pretty impactful.
And I think it's a big thing, I think, that has really impacted me is just the leadership here at FFL. Like, I mean, with my team, James, Tanisha, Little James, just everybody in our group, and you and all the leadership we have here at, like, Family First Life is just great, because you can take someone's story, and it's like Michael Salmon, for example. I mean, he was 19 living in a van, and he went from doing that to being a Hall of Fame producer in a year. That doesn't happen anywhere else unless you're doing something unethical, like selling drugs or something like that, right?
Sure.
And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that when I did get introduced with this, I had great leadership around me that were, like, constantly dripping on me, hey, plug in, do this, do that, and I think that's the biggest thing that's really helped me out, is just, people really guiding me and wanting to see me win, because, all the help that you've done for me, there's never been anything where you want to steer me wrong. You're like, dude, I've been here for 100 years. I've been doing it forever. A step here, don't step there. That's one of the things I've learned a lot just from your leadership.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, man, 100 years, you're aging me, bro. It's been 15, all right? So if anybody on there, Jeremiah's young. He's trying to jab me, I think, right now. So let's do this, man. Like, what I'm interested in is, like, knowing from, like, going from employee, because you're working a job, right, to self-employed, because that's a big transition. I think that's where most people get tripped up, is in that. Like, dude, I'm self-employed, make my own schedule, and they're excited about all the freedom, but who's given much, man, much is required. And so talk about, like, that transition. What was the most challenging thing for you?
The most challenging thing was just being disciplined. When you're working a schedule 40 hours a week, you have somebody that's going to structure your entire week. They know what your week's going to look like because they're scheduling you from 8 to 5. I think the hardest thing for me was being able to be disciplined at such a young age, because, going from working my first job and being scheduled my entire week, I know exactly when I'm going to be working, what I'm going to get paid, what it looks like. Going from working somewhere to being self-employed and having a control over my income and my schedule was very challenging, because I feel like most people, they don't have the strength to really, guide themselves, because they're like, oh, I'm self-employed, I can work whenever. But I feel like a lot of people, when they're self-employed, they can become unemployed really quickly because they don't do anything. And I think the hardest thing for me was just really understanding that, because it was a struggle for a couple months. Like, I would wake up late and be like, oh, it's okay, I got 2 appointments today, they're gonna go great, and then I would go out and get no-showed, and I would like, why am I not getting the results that everybody else is getting? Because I don't have the structure that people that are killing it and they have actually been self-employed and not just a part-time worker have been doing. And I think that's the biggest thing that was hard for me, was just getting my discipline and my schedule down, because when you're working for somebody, it's really easy for them to just tell you what you're gonna do, and when you're working for yourself, it's easy to tell yourself that you don't have to do something today because you're self-employed.
Right. Well, when did that happen, man? Was it just like a day you woke up like, dude, today
Absolutely not.
I'm disciplining myself, I'm structuring myself? Like, how'd that come about, where you started to put these structures and disciplines in place that really kind of allowed you to actually see some kind of progress through that? Like, what took place?
Frustration, I think, is the biggest thing that took place for me, because I'm very competitive. I come from playing sports, so just the frustration of not getting the results that I wanted to get, and have to being real with myself, looking myself in the mirror and telling myself that I'm not doing what it takes to get to the opportunity or to do what I want to do. Getting to 20 families a month is not it's not very hard. All it does take is structure. And I think I didn't have that when I was starting. So I was just getting frustrated, because I would tell myself, oh, I'm putting in all the work, I'm doing the door knocks, and I'm making the dials, I'm buying the leads, but I wasn't doing those things. I was buying the leads sometimes. I was door knocking sometimes. I was waking up early sometimes. That's the biggest thing that it took a couple months for it to click. It took a lot of time from you mentoring it. I think you've said that, you never know when the time that you say something to someone is going to click. You can tell someone 100 times, but the 101 time is when they're going to take action to what you're saying. And I think that's the biggest thing that helped me out, because you would tell me, dude, all you got to do is buy more leads and run more appointments. I'm like, okay, I get it. I got to buy more leads. But I wouldn't do it. And then when I finally took action, I'm like, okay, the first week I did it, I didn't see the results I wanted to see. The second week I did it, then it's coming. Then the third week, and it's just a consistency of buying leads and running a lot of appointments. And I think that's just the biggest thing that clicked for me. It took a while, but I got there.
So you were like, dude, I'm frustrated, something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And you finally started putting in some of these structures. And I think, man, I heard this story a while back, and there was this dude that said he walked by the porch. It was back in the South, and he's walking by, and this dude has a dog on his porch, and he's yelping, like, just crying, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, dude, what's up with your dog, man? Like, why is he yelping like that? And the guy's like, well, he's sitting on a nail. He's like, why doesn't he get up? Guy's like, well, it doesn't hurt him bad enough yet. And that's very applicable, man. Like, a lot of times when we finally make those changes, it's like finally, like, it has to hurt. You know what I mean? You're like, God, why is this still happening? Because you've not made the real change that you know you need to make, because the uncomfortability of the change is still not as it's still less painful than that nail poking in your butt cheek.
I think that's the hardest thing, being young. I mean, a lot of people in my age group, they don't know how to get uncomfortable, because, I mean, going through the pandemic, me, since I was still in high school, it was very easy to just, sit, wake up, go in class, and go back to sleep. It was very comfortable for me. So I think people in my age group, they don't know how to get uncomfortable, because they're just cool with where they're at, and they don't see the value of putting the work in now and what it's going to get you later down in life, because they're just like, right now it's cool, I'm partying, I'm doing this with my friends, I have a little bit of money, I can do this for my family, and they're not seeing the opportunity as it is, because they don't want to get uncomfortable.
Right, they want to just be, they want the results. It's like I want the big biceps, but I don't want the whole 18 curls where it starts burning. I don't want the burning, man. I just want, can you just give me the biceps?
It's just the instant gratification that people are looking for, and I think that's it's killer. It kills you, because if you're just looking for instant gratification, you might as well just quit now, because it's not going to come, because you got to really put the work in. And I tell my ages that I'm helping out, like, I get you're coming here every day, and I get you're dialing, and I get you're buying the leads, but what are you doing on the back end when nobody's watching? Are you listening to the podcast? Are you reading books? Are you working out? Are you doing things to get yourself better all the time, not when it's only time to work? I think that's the best part that really helped me sharpen my mind and my schedule, because I didn't focus on just doing what Family First Life has put in place for us. I focus on what is everybody else that is better than me doing, other than just making the dials and doing that.
I love that, dude. So like finding commonalities, because success leaves tracks. Like what are the successful people doing that others are not doing?
Exactly.
And well, dude, think about so when you look at the big thing I see is commitment. Like your commitment changed, and I think that's like the big nasty scene. People think that like, oh, I'm committed. I'm gonna kill this thing. It's like, dude, like we could look at activity. We could look at a schedule that will reveal commitment. Like I always say,
100%.
man, give me your schedule. Remember somebody said this, I can't remember who it was. They said, dude, if you show me your daily routine, consecutively, I'll show you exactly where you're going to be in the next 5 years.
And that's very true.
Next 5 months. I mean, I could tell you exactly where you're going to be.
Very true.
And I think I love that about Family First Life. It's like nobody ever gets me where I'm just like they got me. Like, dude, I'm not writing 20K and I'm doing all the right things. Gotcha. It's like that doesn't happen. I'm like, I've never been like stumped. Like, dude, I don't know why. Like maybe it's your breath. Does your breath stink? Like I don't know. Like I can't figure it out. There's always something where it's like, dude, it's a recipe. Like there's something we can identify, we can uncover, we can unmask and say that's it. But what I want to, the one thing that I noticed about you, Jeremiah, is even though you weren't putting in those disciplines and structures that were really essential, like that's been the big turnaround, and we'll talk about some of those ones that you specifically made. But even though you weren't making them yet, the one thing that I saw was like, dude, you had a routine of always being here. Like you didn't miss a meeting. Like you were here on dial teams. Like you were showing up consistently. Do you think that played a big part in you eventually deciding to make commitments?
Yes, 100%. And I got that from little James. He was like, he would have a routine. He's like, dude, I'm still here. That would be I'm still here. And I think me being here every day has really taught me, the routine, and it's got my discipline. Hey, I got to be here from 8 a.m. Or actually, I was like a 10 a.m. kind of guy. I would be here from 10 a.m. to 8. I would always leave at 8. But I was always here, and being here consistently and plugging into those things is very important. But I think what helped me be consistent and getting to the level I'm at now is really just making the sacrifices and the other kind of commitments that I needed to make to myself in order to get to the next level. Because you can be showing up every single day, but you're not doing anything if you're not making the effort to really change your bias. One of the books that you just gave me, that was the one thing I learned is, if you have to change your bias, so you're so comfortable of waking up at 10 a.m. and running 5 appointments every 2 run days, and you're comfortable with that, you have to get to the level where you're running 10 appointments and then 15, because it's uncomfortable to even come here and dial all day long. It's very uncomfortable. But in order to get to the next level, you have to make the commitment of making more dials, getting more leads, getting here earlier. And I think being committed is the biggest part here, because as long as you're consistent with showing up, it's going to eventually click. It may not click right away, but you're going to get that aha moment that's like, oh, all I need to do is tweak this little thing, and now I'm at the position where I want to be. But then you got to continue to change your bias so you can get better.
Yeah, dude, I agree, man. You want to level that thing up, like get your basis just a little better, a little higher, a little. And the thing is this, like, that's a lot of times like where the most joy is found, man. Is like when you're finally like uncovering the fact that, man, what can I do to get a little bit better today to increase it? Because I think a lot of times, man, like fulfillment, being gratified it's from getting a little bit better. It's progress. It's like seeing ourselves get a little better. And sometimes it's those frustrating moments where we're in a season where we're giving it all. Man, I'm showing up to the office. I'm doing these things. And it's easy to buy in the fact that we're doing absolutely everything and let that be what cures the frustration. But it's a temporary cure. It's like one of those cures, like I just, man, I'm depressed, so I pound a bottle of Jack Daniels. Like that, it'll fix it for 2 hours, but now tomorrow you're depressed and you're hungover. Like it's not good, dude. Like that was not a good solution. But it's the same thing with frustration, man. You can either pick up excuses and along the path of you going from I'm here to there. And what those excuses do, man, I think it almost cascades quicksand in that gap. So now you're trying to move and you're like, I'm still kind of moving, I'm still showing up, but I couldn't handle the frustration while I'm trying to move. So I picked up some of these excuses. But now you're moving and you're going nowhere, man. Like you're taking steps in the same place because that quicksand's got you going down. And it's only when you let go of those excuses and pick up accountability, pick up some awareness of, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to tweak and adjust? And then you go out there and make the right choices and change the structure, the disciplines. I mean, all of a sudden now I'm moving. And then once you see that movement, you go to like, man, this feels good. And I think that for everybody on here, some of you, and I've experienced this, like when you're in a season of it's going really, really good, you stop increasing and getting that little bit better. You know, like, man, this is going so much better than I expected. Because, like, Jeremiah, you've got a certain level that you'll eventually hit where you're shocked. You're like, dude, I didn't think I was going to be making this amount. I didn't think that it was going to be this good. And the moment you get there, right, and you're kind of surprised and shocked, it's easy to step back and just kind of keep doing it, not increasing your basis, not to get a little better. And that's the moment where your joy starts to get robbed, where you look up, you're like, dude, man, why do I feel kind of empty, even though it looks so much better around me than I thought it was going to look? Right. Well, man, God created us to go out there and move and create and progress and get better and develop. And the moment we stop doing that at any season, a lot of times that's when we're like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could look back to seasons in the business where I was just driving 5 hours to Modesto, dude, leaving at 4 a.m. and then getting back home at 4 a.m., running 24 hours. And, dude, that sometimes I think, like, man, I might have been the most fulfilled then, even though in the moment, like, dude, this sucks. I'm falling asleep. Dude, I got 18-wheelers honking at me because I'm passed out, you know, at the stoplight. I got freaking Diet Mountain Dew all over the place and sunflower seeds. But, dude, like, that felt good because I was getting after it. I felt like I deserved more. I felt like I was doing what other people didn't do, you know?
100%.
And there's just, it's gratifying, man. It's fulfilling when you do that. What were some excuses that you think you picked up that kind of like in that frustration moment where you started to point to other things opposed to looking in?
I think everybody can agree with me. I would thinking that the leads suck. I think that's the most common thing with, I think that one of my excuses was that I was like, you know, the leads suck, or I'm too young, or I can't do this because I'm not structured enough. And just some of the excuses that I was coming up with was just eliminating my success that I'm going to eventually have, because I was proposing myself with these excuses that made no sense to me. So, you know, the leads suck, or my county sucks, because I mean, if you look up San Bernardino County, the median income is not very high, and it's huge. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I did, is I wasn't in the right environment. I wasn't around the right people. My team isn't helping me enough, which was just lame excuses because I was not doing what I should be doing. And I was definitely one of those agents that was, I'm doing everything right, but, you know, where's the results at? That was me. And it's funny to hear because you literally were telling me, dude, you just need to run more appointments and buy leads. And the last week, I did exactly what you said. I ran 30 appointments, and I sat with like 15 people, and I closed 12, and I helped families. I've helped 15 families in the last 4 days. And I think that's huge for me because I always see people posting on Instagram. I'm like, dude, how are they doing? That makes no sense. Like, they're cheating. And it literally is just a system that we plugged in here at FFL to
I love that.
Get to the opportunity where we're at.
So it's like, what lie are you buying right now, right?
Exactly.
What lie have you bought that's keeping you from going out there and helping 15 families? Because unless you let go of that lie, you ain't going to go do it. Like, he would not have gone out and invested the right amount of leads. Jeremiah, you wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have done those things unless you finally said, man, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not doing what I say I'm doing. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I'm convincing myself of something that's not absolutely true. And the thing is this, dude, like, the leads don't suck, you do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, so I love you. Some truth love on a Monday morning. If you think the leads suck, that means you suck. And be clear. I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it to my core, because I've worked every different lead type from 2008 and 9, going through the Great Recession, called mortgage protection leads, to working final expense leads that say Social Security free benefits. And I've been through it all. But it's a family, and they ask for help. And the reality is, you can get better. You 100%. Can get better. And so it's commitment is what's made a big difference. I see in you. Yeah. You made a commitment, and you've expressed that with your purchasing leads, right, coming to the office. Those are all things that are starting to say, like, hey, man, I'm committed, and my actions are really telling myself that I do believe I can be successful. And then having more leads is just giving you more opportunities, more shots to take. And so that way, when you're not that good, increase your opportunities. So that way, as you take those shots, you're more likely to make a shot. And then plug in to the meetings, the calls, the training. Submerge yourself so you learn what to say and how to say it. You learn how to take the shots. That's the formula. Can you make a commitment? Are you truly committed? Are you getting enough opportunities, shots, leads? And are you plugging in where you actually learn how to actually take a shot?
Yeah.
Are you still, shooting the ball left-handed, and the dude's like, by the way, you're right-handed. How do you know? Because you look like a friggin' idiot when you shoot with the left hand.
Right.
That's not the hand you shoot with. Do you even know what you need to tweak and adjust, you know?
And to be honest, Paul, I think one of the biggest things that I think everybody can implement and just getting better at helping families is really caring. I feel like being young in this industry is very mind-boggling because of the amount of money we can make here. But if you really just put, your bank account aside and you really just want to help people, and I think the biggest thing that I changed was just really connecting with my clients and really just being a person and really trying to just see how I can help them out was the biggest thing that I changed, that I think anybody that, if they're struggling with, no sales, is really just try to be a person and try to see what that person needs for you to help them out with. And I think that's the biggest thing that I changed.
I love that, dude. And, I'm thinking, like, the reality is, when you made that commitment and you changed the last couple weeks, because you were still selling, dude, you're making more money than you were making by far working a job.
100%.
But the big thing to highlight is the very practical, tangible changes you've made the last couple weeks and how big of a difference it's already made in your business. But dude, like the timing the process you had to go through, dude, you couldn't shortcut that.
No.
You couldn't. You had to do that. You had to go through that.
And I tell my agents and anybody that I'm trying to help get this started is, dude, the hard times, you have to pay your dues. James always tells me, like, dude, you're paying your dues. You get no-showed, you drive out 3 hours, and you get no-showed, you have to pay your dues. Like, you're just getting started. You have to go through the hard times in order to build character, because if somebody reaches success when it's easy, then when the hard times comes, they're not going to be able to be sustainable, because they're like, dude, I thought it was really easy, and now it's difficult. This doesn't work. But if you go through the rigorous times and it's really challenging for you to be able to get to the success that you're looking for, that's what's going to build you to be a good business owner and a good leader, because you've been through the experiences of getting no-showed, getting canceled, getting blown up, all of it. You have to go through all of it in order to succeed here, because that's what it takes to be a leader here at FFL.
Dude, I think everybody's probably agreeing with this statement. Like, dude, you're very – I said this when we started. I was kind of saying it to pump you up, but I also said it because I believed it. Like, dude, you're very intuitive, and you got so much depth to you, bro. Like, you're deep, and especially for being 19, you've got so much depth and wisdom in what you say and how you say it, man. There's no question that this business is set up for you to go out there and use your gifts that God's given you to make a massive difference, not just on your family, because I know that, and I believe this in my heart, that your kids, man, you're going to generationally change not just a financial situation, but the thought patterns, the abundant mindset that you're going to bring them that you didn't have and I didn't have as we grew up. Right. Really just in this survival mindset, this lack mindset, and it's going to be pretty cool to see the difference you'll make, man. But I just want everybody to think about that. Like, if you don't know the timing when it's going to finally click where you commit, and there's really sometimes nothing that you're going to necessarily, you can't just turn it on and just do it. Like, sometimes you have to go through this excavation process to let go of some thoughts and beliefs and excuses and rationalized thoughts that say this is the way I think it is, and then find out that it isn't what you thought it was. You're going to have to go through that. And like everybody's different. Like Jeremiah, your upbringing, experience, and things you've gone through, that kind of set somewhat of the stage for what the process was going to look like when you first started with FFL until you had some of these breakthrough moments like you just experienced. And it was the same thing for me and everybody else. So when somebody's looking at somebody else's success and says, wow, look at what they're doing, they must just, you don't know, they probably made that change and decision and commitment sooner because of maybe what they had gone through and what they had started with day one. Right. You don't know. Right. But you had to go through it. The one thing that I know to be true that you did, that everybody can do, is just keep showing up.
Yes, 100%.
You kept showing up, and you kept hearing the message, and you kept hearing the message, and you kept hearing the message. See, you can change your thought process, which is what you did. You changed the way you thought about investing in leads. You changed the way in the way you thought about yourself and what you can do, and the fact that you could run a business. You started changing your identity and how you viewed yourself. Those things started to change, and they either change when it gets so painful and so bad, or it changes through repetition of message. And Jeremiah, I don't think it changed for you because it got so bad. Yes, there's always going to be frustration when you're not where you want to be. Mm-hmm. That's a given. But what changed was you heard it so many times because you made a simple choice to say, I'm just going to keep going to the meetings. I'm just going to keep showing up. And when you hear something repeatedly over and over again, you really submerge yourself. That's when the thought process that has been repeatedly put in front of you, it starts to make more sense to you than the one that you've actually got.
Right.
And then all of a sudden awareness is bred and commitment shifts. And you're saying like, dude, all right, screw it. I've not been doing it. I've not been investing in leads. I'm going to actually do it this week.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. Is that kind of how you felt? Like, dude, I'm just going to do it?
That's exactly how I felt, because I was tired of having mediocre results, because I was like, dude, I'm showing up and I'm just not getting where I want to be because I'm not doing what it takes. So I got frustrated, like you said. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna invest money in leads. You told me to get another bank account. That's exactly what I did. And I think the biggest thing I did is I started budgeting and really like, okay, I don't need to have $1,000 in my bank account to feel like I'm adequate at all. Like, that's kind of was my thought process coming into here, because I wasn't used to that kind of money. So anytime I had below $1,000, I was like, dude, I have no money. I'm like, and I talked to James, and he gave me a percentage, like, dude, $400, that's a lot of money to just have for no reason. So I was like, you're right. So I started putting more money to my lead account and just having less in my checkings. Like, dude, all I need is pay for gas, and that's it. Everything goes through the business so we can actually grow this thing. And a lot of it came from leadership, from the team, from you, and just everybody around me to like, dude, you just really need to just like go all in and just risk it, because you're 19. You have no other responsibilities. And going to convention was huge for me, because a lot of people are like, how old are you? You're 18? Are you kidding me? What do you, like, dude, I would kill to be your age and find this right now. And I never really clicked until a couple weeks ago when I was like, okay, I need to get the results, so I just need to go all in and just say, all right, let's go, let's do it.
I love it, dude. And I think, dude, like that whole, like, investing, keeping that extra money, this business is so easy to step into and create income and create wealth, as far as what you have to put on the table, as far as what risk you have to truly take, as far as what revenue and capital and overhead that you really have to start to get this thing kicked off, dude. It's nothing.
Yeah, you put that in best words, I guess you could say. When you first told me about it, you said, dude, the building next door, they probably put hundreds of thousands to start their business, and they probably weren't profitable 3 years later. You could put $1,000 in here and you can 5x that within a week. Where else can you do that unless it's unethical?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I was like, dude, if it's just investing. You just have to trust in yourself to do it.
Yeah, and I think, guys, this is probably one of the, thinking about this, like, I just believe that maybe that's why there's such a great opportunity to create wealth and greatness in this insurance industry, is because it's really riddled with average, mediocre people that just don't go out there and take the risk and don't understand really what they have their hands on.
I agree.
Because it's people that say, starting my own business sounds like a good idea, but they would never go invest $100,000 in a business.
Right.
They would never go take out business loans, raise capital, and do all these kind of things. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's a big portion say, man, I like to be free schedule, all these things, and they're so attracted to all the things that they get. They lose on the fact that, like, yeah, but did you invest $1,000 in leads to turn around? In fact, the greatest struggle in sales is prospecting, having people to talk to. And now you can get people to talk to by investing less than 1,000 times less than anybody else to get it. And you can start getting that thing. And that's why I think most people, they stay mediocre because of the way they see it, and it's just like, it's such a great opportunity for somebody that wants to go out there and really attack this thing.
I think one thing too is that you taught me was our financial temperature. You talked about how there's a lid on, if they're used to $500, then that's what they're used to. If they get above it, they're gonna go back down to it. If they get below it, they're gonna find a way to get back to $500. And I think a lot of people in this industry, or at least in FFL, I feel like we don't do a good job as pushing people to get above that financial lid, because they're so used to what they're making. So I think one thing that changed for me is like being uncomfortable with having below my financial lid, but my investing account is going to be above my financial lid, so I can grow it so that I get out of that comfort zone of just having that kind of general information or like how much financial stability I have.
I love it, dude. And I think that's something that it never goes away, man. At the end of every year, I'm trying to get rid of all what's in my account and put it into assets, investments, and different things. Because what the heck is it doing in there? It ain't doing nothing.
Right.
I mean, it ain't even keeping up with inflation. It's eroding. It's dying. These are dying dollars. How can I get rid of them and put them into investments and businesses and commercial real estate, into properties, I want to get rid of it. I freak out if I look at my account at the end of the year and it's too big. It means I don't have enough assets, investments that are going to be able to create passive residual income. And so, and by the way, the business is the best way you could ever do that from a standpoint of overrides and recruiting and getting agents going.
And it's recession proof.
Yeah, and then once you get that going, then you'll eventually have so much income. Like, I got to invest to figure out where else to put this stuff. All right, dude, last question I've got for you is where do you see this thing going for you? Like, where do you see this going in the next 12 months, 24 months? Like, what's your vision?
My vision. So I think in the next couple months, I'm hoping to be able to hit senior sales manager with my team. And I think to be honest with you, the next 2 years, I feel like I should have integrity with the way that I'm thinking and the way that I'm going to start implementing everything. And I just really want to get to the opportunity where I can be able to just share with people and empower people. I think that's my calling, is not necessarily, even if it is insurance, but just to be able to help people get better. I think that's my calling. I think I have a real passion for just wanting to speak life into people. I get really excited whenever anybody asks me for help, because I'm like, I don't feel qualified, but okay, I'll give you the best advice as I can. So I think what I see forward to the future, I think I'm going to be able to build a big business and be able to just help a lot of agents and help a lot of clients and just really help the people around me change their outlook and perspective on what they could see themselves in the next 5 years.
Man, I love that, dude. Well, I'll tell you what, dude. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called, man. And I definitely see that calling on your life. And there's no better business and platform to be able to really serve and help people than this, because you can give them a true opportunity to go out there and change their financial situation, to give them an opportunity to be financially free. And then along the way, you can speak life and help develop and grow them. And is it fair to say you've learned quite a bit about yourself just the last 6 months?
I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot of positives and negatives. I've been able to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, okay, you're lazy at that. And I would have never been able to realize that kind of stuff if I were to stay at a place where I wasn't growing by working 40 hours a week and never doing anything. I would never be able to, kind of take, like you said, like get off the nail and, ease the pain, because I was able to reflect on myself. So I've been able to learn a lot about myself, my strengths and my weaknesses, by being here at FFL.
I love it, man. Well, I do believe that everybody has that same opportunity. You can take a look and start to identify some things that can be tweaked and adjusted, character to develop, values and attributes to grow in. And as you grow in those, because you'll start becoming aware, like, I need to tweak this, adjust this, be more disciplined, be more positive, all these things in the business, man, that bleeds into every area of your life, man. There's things that I do with my kids that I would have never thought about doing if I wasn't exposed to an opportunity like this and around people like this that have got this growth mindset, abundant mindset that allows you to go out there, stretch, develop, and become what God called you to become and who He called you to become. So, guys, I hope this helped. This was, to me, I got a lot from it, man. Thank you. I've been telling people, like, dude, Jeremiah's got some depth to him, man. Like, he's deep. And so, dude, it's exciting to see how quickly it's happened. It's exciting to me to see where this is going to take you, and I know that God's got a calling, man, and I'm excited to be a part of that process and watching it, and really just kind of being a person that's a part of the story and being able to read it as you write it. So, guys, make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
What's going on, everybody? You know what time it is. It's time to give away $250 of leads to 4 lucky people. If you commented on last week's video, which is playing right over here, you're automatically entered to win. So leave a comment right down below on this video that's playing right now, so you're entered to win for next week. And also make sure that you're signed up for work spots, preferably at the Apple Valley office, for the best chances, for the best discounts on leads, and to be able to redeem your leads as well. So let's see who won this week. Our first winner for $250 worth of leads is the Chewbacca 41. I think out of so many podcasts for you guys. Paul's are all my favorites. Thank you. You won. Our second winner is Braulio Melendez. This training is fabulous. When I saw the announcement for it yesterday, I clicked on the notification button. I was not going to miss it. So glad I got on at 7 a.m. instead of watching it a day later. I love the session with Paul and Jeremiah. Thank you for stressing the importance of knowing the script to make a study by constantly reading it, the same by being fluid and overcoming objections. I like the analogy of the spotter when lifting weights. You have your rebuttals handy in order to overcome objections at any moment they come, versus stuttering over your words. Anyways, always the best training. Such a good comment, dang. Our third winner is Braulio Melendez again. Our third winner is David Dunning. Great content and awesome way to sponge up knowledge from the ones in the field. And our fourth and final winner for this giveaway is Christy Emming. Always learning something new. Thanks. Guys, it's that simple. Just leave a comment and you could win $250 worth of leads. Winners, get in contact with Victoria. Her phone number is going to be right over here. And make sure that you use your WorkSpots code to get more leads for your winnings. Make sure you sign up with Apple Valley WorkSpots to redeem those. And guys, it's that simple. Leave a comment. Keep killing it out there. We'll see you next Monday. Take care.